If you are consistently inconsistent in your trading, you actually might be closer to a breakthrough than you think. Now, I know that might sound crazy, especially thinking back when I was blowing accounts and failing prop firms for some of you guys, challenges and revenge trading, or just watching your confidence dissolve. I remember the feeling it gave me, the dopamine rush, okay, this time is different. Only to blow another account 3 days later. I didn't have a strategy problem. I had an identity problem. I didn't know how to stay disciplined when it actually counted. And that sort of leads me to the first of 3 major shifts that changed everything for me. So shift number 1 is fixing the root of the problem, not just the result, but the root. Okay, so my biggest flaw was impatience. Impatience made me oversize, and oversizing led to deeper drawdown. And once I was deep enough in the red, I just say, screw it and blow the whole thing. So the worst part of that is that I didn't even care anymore. And when you stop caring about the money that's in your account, it's game over. If that's you, I get it because I was there. I know exactly what that felt like. But what pulled me out of that sort of darkness was a real choice, not a feeling, not a dopamine rush, not a video, not a quote. It was a decision. And the decision that I made was that I was done trading like that. I don't want to feel like that anymore, or else I'm just not going to trade. But here's what I didn't realize at the time. The problem wasn't just emotional. It was structural, right? Because I didn't believe in a strategy. I didn't have a belief so deep down, right? I didn't have that to just know for sure that this strategy was going to make me profitable, because even if I knew the rules, I didn't have enough reps, enough experience, or enough proof that it would actually work over the long haul. And this is huge, right? You need to have the belief. Belief is number 1. That's what, in my opinion, after speaking to thousands of traders, that's what keeps traders stuck. Certainly what kept me stuck for a long time. They bounce from a system to system, swing from trading strategy to trading strategy. They never actually believe in the one that they had, right? So even a great system with like a 50% win rate is very difficult to trust, especially when you're new. Why? Well, because you're losing 5 out of every 10 trades. That can kind of mess with your head, especially a new trader. Losing half the time isn't fun, especially when you don't have the reps. Like I said, you don't have the experience. You haven't seen thousands of trades yet. You're just trying to get used to clicking buy and sell and making sure your setup looks like the one that you studied, but you don't need more setups. You need a belief, and the belief only comes from doing what you're doing over and over and over with discipline. So I think that that's a misconception, that learning new strategies, learning, we'll call it, more complex strategies, whatever that means. Yeah, there's a lot of people who are very complex traders, but they're not profitable. And one of the things, just as an add-on, that I always tell traders to do is print their last 20 trades. Like, look at the charts, write down what each setup would get, an A, B, or C. Like, literally write it down, a B setup or C. If you can't do that, you don't have a strategy. And then, or belief in a strategy. You might have an entry model, but you don't have a strategy. And then you're going to ask yourself, what did I feel? Your feeling of, like, did you feel anxiety? Did you feel, were you relaxed? Did you not feel anything? What did you feel before clicking the button? Because most of the time, your true edge, what we call the edge in the market, right, isn't being lost in the strategy, right? It's being lost between your ears, right? So it's being lost in your head. You're like, you don't know what's going on. A lot of times you just feel anxiety is the worst killer of them all. But what are you feeling? Because building a system that matches you is going to be shift number 2. You have to build a system, a strategy that ends up solving your biggest issue. Mine was impatience, right? I needed a system that would let me trade every day, didn't keep me glued to the charts all day, and protected me from emotional spirals. And took me 4 years, but I built it and it works. And it's called the Orb Crazy Horse. And the most powerful thing about it is that it forces me to be patient. So let me show you how I trade it step by step real quick. So the first thing that I do is start on the daily chart, right? I like to look at the higher time frame momentum. I want to see previous day high and low. I want to see fair value gaps. I have a tendency of wanting to see these things, but they have nothing to do with my actual strategy. It's just a confidence report of, okay, market is still looking bullish or market is still looking bearish. So I like to see, like, would I be buying right now on a higher time frame? And then I'll move my way down to the 5-minute. And this is where I open up our custom indicator called the TMT bands. But before the market opens, I determine my daily bias by basically spotting. I'll zoom out and I'll spot the most impulsive move within the last couple of days. In this case, I give it like 3-4 days. And then I will spot that most impulsive move, which in fact looks like is today, right? So we had buyers in control, you can clearly see. And then today kind of reset the tone for sellers. And before the market opens, I determine that bias. And then I just wait for the 15-minute range to form. So I'll go back and show you today's trade real quick. We'll go back here. I basically have this little indicator. You can also use an indicator called key levels. And I think I have that up here as well. So you can use this one. It's by Liquid Trader called Key Levels. Put that on the chart. And it's going to give you a bunch of levels. What I like to do is just put on the opening range, 15 minutes, and turn off, everything else. Unless you want to see it, you don't need it for the strategy. And you basically let that puppy just give you the 15-minute range. That's it. And then after that, I'm waiting for a 5-minute candle to close outside of the range. You can see right here is where that 5-minute candle closes. That's giving me my temporary directional bias. So bias for the day is down. And because it gives me a way to initiate my initial trade, right, to enter, it's an entry model. It's also a sizing metric. So the way that I grade is between A, B, or C setup. I try to keep it as simple as possible. All this is a metric for letting me know what my initial sizing should be. If the center line, the break of the orb, and my high time frame, when I zoom out, all line up, then that would be an A setup. If any of those are off in any way, it automatically defaults to a B setup. And depending on how the chart looks and what exactly is off, it could be a C setup. Today was borderline almost a C setup because the center line was gray. Had it been blue, I would have probably given it a C setup because structure is also something to just kind of default to and, to notice. It's not something we live or die by because momentum is actually cleaner, believe it or not, and not as sporadic. But structure broke to the upside and ends up coming down, but our daily bias is down. So that makes sense. So it's a B minus setup. And that's what we went with today. Now, B minus setups, instead of risking, let's say, whatever percentage of your account, you're risking in between. So you can have whatever metric of risk you're comfortable with. I can't tell you what you want to risk on your account, but with a roughly 75 to 80% win rate with this strategy and only 7 red days the entire year, you have pretty good odds of coming out on top, especially with the A or B day. And to be quite honest with you, even C days have been really good lately. So we enter the trade going short here. And because it is a B setup day, we're able to use an invalidation zone. And this is where kind of things changed for me, and I know a lot of other people, is the idea that you can start out at a negative risk reward and work your way into a positive risk reward very easily, actually, with dynamic money management. So today was really easy, and you can see how simple the strategy is. If you left a runner here, you could have gotten a little bit more out of it, but honestly, there was no need to. It already hit TP up here. Perfectly happy with that. $380, $400 on the account, trading 150K, Tradeify accounts on a prop firm, plus my cash account looked pretty good. I was looking pretty good today. Price hit the TP target, and part of this strategy and the reason why this has helped me so much is because it's stopped me, right, from over trading, revenge trading, and having like those emotional entries. So this has helped me reduce all of those dramatically. I'm not saying it's magic. I'm just saying that it works because it matches me. And I would just say if you're not using some type of bias filter or like daily direction model, then I would say you're kind of just winging it, hoping that some entry model that you learn shows up. Momentum is king, right? Your first job each day is to figure out who's in control, buyers or sellers. What's the news look like? So let's talk about shift number 3, okay? We're going to talk about surrounding yourself with structure and support. I had a little Telegram group when I first started, and one of my students helped me simplify a strategy that I was working on. His name's Troy. Shout out to Coach Troy. It sparked this idea of the full-blown community on school called the Midas Touch Trading Group. It was really cool because they started sharing wins, sharing losses, and then we started like grading setups together and posting our stats. And so it's not hype, right? It's not ego, just literally real traders focused on one goal, consistent profitability. And, Tony Robbins also says, show me your friends, I'll show you your future. So, we've had members make way more than I have just in just last month, actually, because they got massive payouts. One person in our group made like 10 grand in a day. It's sick. So if you're trading alone right now, I would say stop. You're going to be shocked how fast your self-awareness is going to grow. And a final reminder, stop memorizing setups. I used to be the setup king. I had dozens memorized, right? But I didn't know how to manage a trade. And that's where dynamic money management changed my life, literally. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being profitable. I don't care about your perfection. Everybody shoots for like these really tiny stop losses with a big risk to reward. It doesn't typically work. I don't care about you being ninja and getting the tip of the wick all the time. Most days I'm done in 30 minutes. I don't overtrade. I don't chase, because the dream for me in trading is freedom, not candles. So your strategy needs to match your life. If you're still trying to trade like some 24-year-old YouTuber with no responsibilities, then you're going to burn out. So build the system for your life, not someone else's. All right, if you want to see what we're doing, you can find the link to my free school group in the description.